There are plenty of things about the Pixel 9 Pro Fold that I do not like. Plenty of things that I think should be criticized. We've talked about the change in aspect ratio going from the shorter device that we have with the Pixel Fold 1, which opens up into a landscape tablet, to something which basically is a slightly larger version of the OnePlus Open. I've talked about the fact that we are getting a camera system, a camera setup that is fairly uninspiring, where a lot of the hardware, a couple of the sensors, have been traded out for newer hardware that also happens to be physically smaller, so we shouldn't necessarily expect some leap in camera performance, all the while companies like OnePlus are packing really impressive camera hardware into their foldable devices. These are fair things to criticize, but there is one thing about the Pixel Fold 2 slash Pixel 9 Pro Fold that I do think Google is getting correct in a weird sort of backwards way. And even though I don't like the name, I have to admit what that name signifies is maybe the best thing about the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. I think to properly explain what that kind of long, ridiculous name signifies, we need to take a closer look at the original Pixel Fold when it was released and how Google handled software updates and new features for that device. So let's get this first thing out of the way. The Pixel 7 launched in October of 2022, and it was running the Tensor G2 processor. The Pixel Fold launched with that very same G2 processor about 6 months later, and then the Pixel 8 launched with the Tensor G3 4 or 5 months after that. What this meant was the Pixel Fold had been on the market for about 4 months before a new Pixel with a newer processor and newer features was on the market. Now, this in and of itself should not be a big problem. Samsung routinely does the exact same thing. The S24 line of phones launched in January. The Z Fold 6 launched about 6 months later. And of course, the S25 phones are probably going to come out about 6 months after that. This is how foldables have been here in the United States. They are sort of a half step. You go flagship, then you go foldable, then you go flagship, which means that 4, 5, 6 months after your foldable is out, it is now quote unquote outdated, and there may be features on your newest flagship that your foldable doesn't have. Except that last part is only really true for Google, because Samsung has done an exceptional job of making sure that really rapidly after the new flagship comes out, their foldable, which is only about 6 months old, does receive the vast majority, usually like pretty much all of those features. And something else that they do a phenomenal job of is just straight up communication. They will make a blog post and straight up tell you, hey, you have a Z Fold, whatever. This is when you can expect the new version of One UI, and these are the features that are coming. With Google, they just don't do these things. You get what you get when you get it, and you have no idea what's coming and what isn't. It took months for us to get Magic Editor on the Pixel Fold. In fact, when we got it on the Pixel Fold, we actually got it on any device that has Google Photos, and that is frankly not good enough. There are other features like Best Take that is still exclusive to the Pixel 8 line of devices. It has never come back to the Pixel Fold. This is simply not how Samsung handles things, and it is a pretty major detriment to the Pixel Fold. Even though that device has received tons of software updates, it has had improved battery life, improved brightness, it has gotten a handful, quite a large handful of new features. It has gotten entirely new versions of Android, three or four different slates of betas. It's gotten a lot of support. It has still lagged behind the Pixel 8, which came out like 4 months after it was released. And guys, that does not feel great. Well, I do think the criticism sometimes is a little bit overblown. I think that a large amount of criticism is still absolutely warranted with this sort of behavior. So how does the new name address this, right? Instead of calling it the Pixel Fold 2, calling it the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. I think that there is a very, very blatant and obvious statement being made there. Yes, it would make more sense to call this thing the Pixel Fold 2 because there was an original Pixel Fold. This is the sequel. Therefore, it is the number 2. So why on earth are they calling it the Pixel 9 Pro Fold? Because they want to communicate something to you. And I'm hoping that the thing that they're communicating is that they understand where they sort of fell short with the original Pixel Fold. And they're telling you, hey, two important things about this device. One, it is a Pixel 9, which means it is going to be getting the features of the Pixel 9. And then two, ladies and gentlemen, it is a Pro phone, which means when you put the Pixel 9 Pro Fold next to the Pixel 9 Pro and Pro XL, they should have the exact same features, with presumably the Pixel Fold having some additional, foldy features that, of course, the other devices aren't going to be able to have on top of those Pixel 9 Pro features. And that is a really big change. We're not going to have to worry about this situation where 4 months later, the Pixel 9 comes out and it's got a bunch of features that your Pixel Fold 2 does not have. You're also not going to have to worry about 4 months later, a Pixel 9 comes out and it's got the Tensor G4 and you are running the Tensor G3 as what would have happened potentially if the Pixel Fold 2 launched around the same timing as the original Pixel Fold did without that 9 naming convention. Guys, this thing has the Tensor G4. It has 16 gigs of RAM, the same thing as the other Pro models. And again, because of that, I think it is perfectly safe to assume it's going to have all the features of the other Pro Pixels. Not only should we be getting all of the features from the Pixel 8, things like Best Take that we never got on the Pixel Fold, we should also be adding features like Add Me, Pixel Studio, Pixel Screenshots. By the way, if you want a breakdown of what I'm talking about, there is a link to a video in the description down below where I break this stuff down. On top of all of that, if something like this Pixie Assistant thing that looks to maybe be an answer to what Apple's doing with Siri, it's got 16 gigs of RAM. There's no reason why that won't be on the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. Again, if it's real, we should be getting it, and this is all really good news. To me, that says we have at least a year, right? So when the Pixel 10 comes out with the Tensor G5, which was presumably made by TSMC and should be a pretty radical improvement over the Tensor G4, yeah, at that point, we might have to worry about some features not, rapidly making their way back to the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, because I don't think Google is suddenly going to just be as good as Samsung when it comes to getting that sort of thing done. But you've at least got a year where it is going to be the bleeding edge of Google. After that, your guess is probably as good as mine. I mean, Google has typically been pretty decent about making sure that if you've got the Pixel 7 Pro, you're probably going to eventually get a lot of the features from the Pixel 8 Pro, but yeah, not all of them, right? They don't do nearly as good at this stuff as Samsung does. And unfortunately, if you were a foldable phone user, if you bought the Pixel Fold, they did even worse than that, which is just frankly unacceptable. So really all I can say from this point is we know that we have at least that first year of being at the very, very bleeding edge. Like I said, after that, it might get a little bit sketchy. All we can do right now is really hope that Google is understanding that that's just not good enough when you're talking about an $1,800 phone. You need, when that Pixel 10 comes out, those new features, we're going to need to have those on the Pixel 9 Pro Fold relatively quickly. But, that is a bridge we're going to have to cross when we come to it. At any rate, guys, it is only 2 days away at time of posting this video before we're going to see these devices fully unveiled. As I've been saying over and over, hit that subscribe button because we're going to be live alongside that event, and I should be reviewing some of this Pixel hardware relatively quickly as well. So if you want to see that stuff, again, don't leave before you subscribe. Drop your comments down below. Do you think I'm right about this? What do you want to see from this Pixel 9 Pro Fold? I'd love to see it in those comments down below, guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content just like this. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.